Hello there and welcome back to some more Forza Horizon 4. Today we are taking a look at the DLC for week number 10, aka the 29th of November 2018. This week shone a spotlight on two race-bred machineries from very different eras. We begin with the 2005 Ferrari FXX, 789 horsepower, 506 foot-pound torque, 2,731 pounds of weight, mid-engined rear-wheel drive, S2 class and 961 PI. This is the return of the Ferrari FXX, previously featured in Forza Motorsport 3 and 4, and the FXX is a car which I love because it's incredibly crazy. Essentially what this is it's Ferrari's track version of an Enzo. I believe the way these cars worked is, as a customer, you bought one, it was only registered for track use, and Ferrari would sort of monitor how the car was, and then they would translate that into both their road cars and their race cars. It's a pretty cool thing. Differences from the Enzo include some rather interesting looking headlight covers, the amazing stripe, and the fact that the tail lights were replaced by exhausts, which is incredibly cool. It's an incredibly cool looking car. It sounds fantastic. Yeah, it is kind of cool to see it back here. Again, you could make the argument, well, it's another Forza import from a previous game, so yeah, but at the same time, people have been asking for the FXX for quite obvious reasons, because it's very cool. And I'm not going to complain about it being here. I don't know how much use I'm going to get out of the car personally. Sort of Extreme Track Toys is one of those. I believe this is sort of much higher up the PI scale than most of those cars are, so I don't quite know how it fits in with that class balance-wise. But certainly a pretty interesting car, all things considered. And again, if you haven't driven this car, if you're not a fan of it, just go drive it for the noise and then come back to me and tell me that you don't like it a little bit more, because it is fantastic. Next up, a car which I actually had to do a little bit of research on, but after doing some research, it seems like it does have a pretty good place in history. This is the 1953 Jaguar C-Type, 225 horsepower, 243 foot-pound torque, 2,127 pounds of weight, front-engined rear-wheel drive, D-Class 495 PI. Interestingly enough, a 50-50 weight distribution, which I was not expecting on a car of this age. The Jaguar C-Type, for those of you who don't know, this was a car which was based on the road-going XK120, which at the time was the fastest production car ever made. Essentially what it was is it was an XK120 built for racing, and this car would go on to win Le Mans twice, as well as a couple of other racing feats. Not quite as famous as the car that came after it, the Jaguar D-Type, but nevertheless it still has a place in history. It is a pretty weird looking car, gotta be honest. A car which I don't think I'm going to get much use out of. It is in classic races, which to be fair is a category which is very expensive to buy into. That's where you see your 250 GTOs, your Daytonas, stuff like that. So in terms of if you need a car for this class, that is actually a pretty useful thing to have the car pass for occasionally, as we will get cars added into classes that are very expensive to get into, and classic racers, in my mind, is probably one of the most useful aspects of this, because it is just such a expensive class to get into. Most of the cars in this class are like 2 million, 3 million, 10 million, and the C-Type is obviously free with the car pass, which is quite cool. Anyways, yeah, those are the cars for this week. Yeah, pretty happy with them. The C-Type, not going to get much use out of, but it is kind of a cool car historically. And the FXX, again, I don't know how much use I'm going to get out of it, but it is nice to see it back in the game. Of course, you could make the argument we do have the 599XX, which was basically what the FXX, that was the evolution of that car. But, you know, people prefer the FXX to my knowledge, so it's better that it's here, I guess. So there you go. Anyways, thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, farewell.